After defeating Susarma, King Virata returned to his capital in triumph, through streets loud with cheering, his heart brimmed with pride, until he reached the palace and noticed his son Uttara was not there to greet him. And what the palace women told him next turned his triumph to dread. With glowing faces, the women told him Uttara had ridden out to conquer the Kauravas, and they had no doubt at all their handsome prince could conquer the whole world. But Virata knew better. His delicately raised boy had gone to face the Kaurava army with no companion but a eunuch dance master. The king's heart sunk like a stone. My dearly loved son must be dead by now. Virata cried, overcome. He ordered his ministers to gather the strongest force they could and ride to rescue Uttara, if he still lived, and sent scouts racing ahead to learn the princess' fate. The whole palace, so lately celebrating, plunged into fear for the boy. But the Sannyasin Kanka, Yudhishthir in disguise, tried to comfort him and could barely keep the smile from his voice. Do not fear, O king. The prince can come to no harm, for Brihannala drives his chariot. You do not know her. I do. Whoever fights from a chariot she drives is assured of victory. Besides, news of Susarma's defeat will have reached the field, and the Kauravas will have withdrawn. Then courtiers arrived from the battlefield with news that seemed impossible. Uttara had defeated the whole Kaurava army and recovered the cattle. Even the fond father could scarcely believe it. But Yudhishthir, smiling, reassured him. Believe it, O king. When Brihannala went out as charioteer, success was certain. There is nothing extraordinary in it. Not even Indra's charioteer or Krishna's can equal her. It sounded absurd to Virata, a dance teacher greater than the charioteers of gods. But he was too happy to argue. He heaped jewels and gifts on the messengers and ordered the whole city to rejoice. My victory over Susarma is nothing, he proclaimed. The princess is the real triumph. Let thanksgiving be offered everywhere. The streets hung with flags, and let us receive my lion-hearted boy in glory. Ministers, soldiers, and maidens were sent to welcome the returning prince, and the city thrummed with excitement. Then Virata, unable to sit still for joy, retired to his chambers and called Sarandri to bring the dice. I cannot contain my happiness, he told Kanka. Come, let us play. And they sat down to a game, Virata bubbling over about his son. See the glory of my son Bhuminjaya, Virata exclaimed as they played. He has put the famed Kaurava warriors to flight. Yes, said Yudhishthir with a smile. Your son is indeed fortunate, for without the best of good fortune, how could he have got Brihannala to drive his chariot? He could not help himself. The truth kept leaking out through his praise, and that was the wrong thing to say once too often. Why do you keep babbling about the eunuch? Virata cried, his temper flaring. I speak of my son's victory, and you go on about the charioteering of a dance master as though it signified anything. The king's joy curdled into irritation, and Kanka, unwisely honest, would not let the point go. I know what I am saying, Kanka insisted. Brihannala is no ordinary person. The chariot she drives can never see defeat, and whoever rides in it is sure of success in any undertaking, however hard. It was true, truer than Virata could imagine, but to the king, it sounded like willful, perverse belittling of his son, and his temper broke. In a passion, Virata flung the dice into Yudhishthir's face and struck him on the cheek, and blood ran down the face of the eldest Pandav, the emperor of the Rajsuya. At the hand of the king, he was quietly serving. It was a small blow and an enormous one, and it was seen by the one person in the palace who understood exactly what it meant. Sarandri Draupadi was near, and she moved at once. She caught the falling blood in the edge of her garment and squeezed it carefully into a golden cup. "Why the fuss?" demanded the still angry king. "What are you collecting his blood for?" And Draupadi gave an answer that was both a pious reason and a veiled warning. "A Sanyasin's blood must not fall upon the ground, O king," she said. "Where a holy man's blood touches the earth, the rains fail for as many years as there are drops. That is why I caught it. I fear you do not know the greatness of this Kanka." She was telling the literal truth of the custom and hinting, as plainly as she dared, that the king had just struck someone far greater than he knew. Just then the gatekeeper announced, "Uttara and Brihannala have arrived. The prince waits for audience." Virata leapt up in delight. "Bring him in, bring him in." But Yudhishthir quietly told the sentry, "Let Uttara come in alone. Brihannala must stay outside." He knew that if Arjuna saw the blood on his brother's face, his anger would be beyond controlling, and the disguise, so nearly finished, would end in disaster. For Yudhishthir could bear a blow himself, but he could not bear to have Arjuna see it. Arjuna, who would not tolerate his brother hurt by anyone save in fair battle. Uttara entered and bowed to his father, then turned to pay his respects to Kanka and froze in horror. He saw the bleeding face, and in that instant, Uttara understood that this humble courtier was the great Yudhishthir himself. Uttara, who had learned on the battlefield exactly who these servants really were, cried out, "O king, who dared to hurt this great one?" His alarm was so genuine, so terrified, that it stopped his father short. Virata, utterly baffled, looked at his son as if the boy had lost his wits. He had struck a mere Brahman. "Why this white-faced panic? Why such a fuss?" said Virata. "I struck him for envious, untimely belittling of you. When I was in an ocean of joy at your victory, every time I praised you, this unlucky Brahman gave the glory to your charioteer. It was foolish of me. I am sorry I hit him, but it's not worth talking about." He truly did not understand, and Uttara's terror only sharpened. "Father, you have done a terrible wrong," Uttara cried. "Fall at his feet this instant and beg his pardon, or we are destroyed, root and branch." Virata stood with a puzzled frown, understanding nothing. But his son was so frantic, so insistent, that at last the bewildered king yielded and bowed before the courtier Kanka to ask forgiveness. He had no idea he was bowing to an emperor. Then, embracing his son and seating him, Virata's curiosity overflowed. "My boy, you are a true hero. I burn to hear it all. How did you defeat the Kaurava army? How did you win back the cows?" He beamed at Uttara, ready to drink in the tale of his son's glory. And Uttara hung his head and told the truth. "I conquered no army, father," said Uttara, "and rescued no cows. It was all the work of a godlike prince who took up our cause, saved me from destruction, put the whole Kaurava host to flight, and brought the herds home. I did nothing at all." It was an honest confession, and a brave one, for it cost the boy every scrap of the glory his father so wanted to give him. Virata could hardly believe his ears. "Where is this god prince?" he cried. "I must see and thank the hero who saved my son and beat back my enemies, and I will give him my daughter, the Princess Uttara, in marriage. Fetch him in. He has disappeared for now," said the prince carefully, "but I think he will come today or tomorrow." Uttara spoke the exact truth. For Arjuna was indeed a prince among men, and had for the moment disappeared into Brihannala. Soon after, the leading citizens gathered in Virata's hall of assembly to celebrate the twin victories. And into that hall walked Kankathe, Sanyasin, Valala the cook, Brihannala, and the keepers of the horses and cattle. And, to everyone's astonishment, the five of them calmly sat down among the princes, in the seats reserved for royalty, unbidden. Some murmured that these humble servants had, after all, given invaluable service and deserved honor. But the sight was extraordinary when Virata entered and saw his cook and his sannyasin lounging in the seats of princes. He lost his temper and loudly demanded to know the meaning of it. And then, when the Pandavas judged they had had enough of the game, they let the disguise fall at last and revealed who they truly were. The whole assembly sat thunderstruck. The humble servants who had swept floors and cooked meals and driven chariots for a year were the five sons of Pandu and their queen Draupadi. Virata was beside himself with joy and with a kind of holy embarrassment. To think that the Pandav princess and Panchali had waited on him in disguise all these months, and that he had actually struck the great Yudhishthir. In a rush of gratitude, he embraced Kanka and formally surrendered his whole kingdom and everything he owned to the Pandavas, who, of course, at once returned it all with thanks. And Virata pressed, again, that Arjuna must marry his daughter. But Arjuna gently declined. That would not be proper. He said, "The princess learned dance and music from me, and a teacher stands in the place of a father to his pupil. I cannot marry her, but I will gladly accept her for my son." And so the princess Uttara was betrothed not to Arjuna, but to Abhimanyu, Arjuna's son by Subhadra, Krishna's sister, a marriage that bound Matsya to the Pandavas and to Dwarka, and knit together the alliance that the coming war would need. And even as the alliance was being sealed, the other side made its move. Envoys arrived from Duryodhan for Yudhishthir. Duryodhan is grieved that, through Arjuna's hasty action, you must return to the forest, since he let himself be recognized before the 13th year ended. So by your vow you owe 12 more years of exile. Yudhishthir only laughed. "Go back quickly," he told them, "and tell Duryodhan to check his arithmetic. Bhishma and the astrologers will confirm the full 13 years were complete before your army heard Arjuna's bow and fled. The exile was honorably done, and now the two houses would reckon with each other in earnest."